All right, let's talk about one of the biggest technologies out there right now. We're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how a large language model, an LLM, really works. You've probably done this, right? You type a question into an AI, and the answer that comes back is just, wow. It's smart, it gets the context, it almost feels like you're talking to a person. So how in the world does a bunch of code learn to write a poem or break down a complex idea? That's exactly what we're going to get into. Okay, so first things first, let's get a good definition on the table. A large language model, an LLM, it's a special type of AI. And honestly, the name tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Large is because it's trained on a mind-boggling amount of text. And language? Well, that's its whole job, to get language and to create it. Kind of like we do. Right, so we've got the what, but let's dig a little deeper. What is an LLM really? And more importantly, how does it learn? You know, the crazy thing is, the best way to get how an LLM learns is to think about how you learn to talk. Nobody just handed you a dictionary and told you to memorize it, right? Nope. You were just surrounded by language. You listened and you started picking up the patterns. That's the key idea to hang on to here. Okay, it all starts with the foundation. We're talking about a massive, massive training phase. This is basically where the model goes to school. So how does this whole training thing actually work? Well, first, it's all about data exposure. Imagine feeding the AI a library bigger than anyone could ever read in a million lifetimes. All the books, websites, articles, everything. And as it's consuming all of this, it's not just memorizing stuff. It's looking for patterns, grammar, facts, how ideas connect, all of it. But here's the wild part. The absolute core of what it's doing is super simple. Its number one goal is just to get incredibly good at one thing, guessing the next word in a sentence. All right, so the model has soaked up all these patterns, but where does all that information go? How is it all organized? Let's take a peek inside its digital brain. The magic behind most of these LLMs is something called the transformer architecture. Now, what's so special about it? Well, instead of just looking at the word that came right before, it looks at all the words in a sentence at once to understand how they relate to each other. It gets the whole context. And that, right there, is the difference between just spitting back words and actually understanding meaning. And the sheer scale of this brain is just, it's hard to wrap your head around. All those patterns are stored in what are called parameters. We're talking billions of them. The best way to think about it is like billions of tiny little knobs, and during training, each one is tweaked and adjusted just perfectly to capture all the little details and nuances of human language. Okay, so the training is done, the brain is packed with knowledge. Now for the fun part. What actually happens when you ask it a question? Let's break down how it builds an answer, piece by piece. It all happens incredibly fast, but it's a step-by-step process. First, it takes your question and chops it up into little pieces called tokens. Think of them like word fragments. Then it sends those tokens on a journey through its massive neural network. Using all those billions of little knobs we talked about, it makes a prediction. What's the most likely next token? And once it has that, it just does it again, and again, and again, building the response one single token at a time. Let's make this real. Imagine the sentence it's working on is, "The sky is." Right now, the model is digging through everything it knows to figure out what comes next. And based on seeing that phrase in countless books and articles, it makes a statistical bet. The most likely next word, blue. So now our sentence is, "The sky is blue." And the whole process just starts over. What's next? Probably because. This is so important to get that a really complex, thoughtful answer isn't created all at once. It's built up from these tiny, one-at-a-time predictions. So here's the big takeaway. The really important thing to understand is that what comes out of this simple, word-by-word process is something way more powerful than just a fancy copy-and-paste machine. This is really the whole game right here. It's not just memorizing things. The LLM isn't digging through a giant database to find a sentence it's already seen. No, it's taking its deep understanding of all those language patterns and applying that knowledge to brand new questions, stuff it's never seen before. And because it can do that, these incredible new skills just emerge. It starts to get a handle on abstract concepts. It develops a real ability to reason through a problem. And maybe coolest of all, it can create totally new sentences, putting ideas together in ways it was never explicitly taught. Which brings us right back to where we started, to you. I mean, think about it. You haven't memorized every single sentence you're ever gonna say, right? Of course not. You were just exposed to tons of language, you learned the patterns, and now you can create an infinite number of new sentences. Well, an LLM is doing the exact same thing, just on a scale that is almost impossible to imagine. And that leaves us with a pretty mind-bending idea to chew on. We've actually built a technology that learns in a way that's spookily similar to how our own minds work. So the real question isn't just about what we can teach it anymore. It's, if these things learn like we do, what are they going to learn next?